Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. Yesterday I wanted to make another episode because I actually have some free time again. But a couple of days ago I actually did a pretty intense cycling session, which was, I don't know what it's called, but it's like the stage 2 of the Tour the Zwift. And it was something called the Mountain Madness or something. And it was basically a 30-kilometer route with 1,500 meter climb or something. It was pretty intense. And after that, I was actually super tuckered out. That's why the next day I think I was making the video. But just yesterday, I did another route that I thought was doable. But turns out it was still, my feet, turns out they were not recovered yet. So I was doing this thing, or this route called the Ventop, which is basically almost the same thing with a shit ton of climbing. So yesterday I wanted to make another video of this, but I was way too tired. I was cycling for about, what, 2 hours and a half? Jesus. My feet were intense. But alright, we are back to Grisaia. I think last time we were recalling, or we were telling a joke to Machina, if I'm not wrong. I don't know how funny it is. I don't necessarily think Yuji's sense of humor is the same as the average person. But alright. There's a subspecies of woman distinguished by an excessive kind of helpfulness, the burning desire to take care of others' problems. Within a few days of entering the school, I had a rough idea that Suo Amane fit this busybody woman classification. Yeah, I think I said this a couple of episodes ago, or was it just last episode? But I do think that Amane is kind of thrown into your face quite a lot. Wait. Was the last time Machina's scene? Was it the joke one, or was it the Somen Noodles one? I kind of forgot. But I have to admit, I wasn't expecting her to extend her meddling to me quite so quickly. Although I suppose it's inevitable that we'd run into each other a lot since we live in the same dorm, it seems like she's coming up to me at every free moment and playing the big sister. I wish she'd put herself in my shoes. It's not easy having to politely shoot her down every time. Not wasting any time, are you? I'm not sure how she got the idea in her head, but lately, every time a break begins, Amane's been clinging to me from behind. The fuck? She's telling, or she's talking about how she's the she's the big boob character, and how we'd be. I don't know. I wasn't paying too much attention to what she was saying the second time, or the second part of her sentence. I think it's like, you should be happy that I'm doing this to you. Then forcefully pressing her oversized lumps of breast blubber against me, as if to say, oh, there we go. Check it out. I'm the big tits character. The way they droop just a little is very popular with the enthusiasts. Yeah, I think she was talking about Maniac, right? Look, you're heavy. Remove your chest flap from my head. On the contrary, I'm something of a fan. I think, like Yuji's personality like this is a bit kind of a breath of fresh air. Like back in the day, there weren't really a lot of characters that were used to women as Yuji, at least when it comes to being the main character. So, his weird way, or not really weird, more like his, what is it? What's the word? His way of dealing with these characters are just a breath of fresh air, like I said. I am actually quite like this myself in real life. I actually do not like being physically touched by, you know, acquaintances that Some people are just too touchy-feely, you know? And I kind of dislike that. Both male or female. I prefer that. If a man sexually harasses me, at least I can knock him flat without feeling guilty about it. Yeah, talking about that, I actually got groped once when I was at the gym. After I finished showering, I punched the guy in the nose after that. He started bleeding all over and told me that I was homophobic or some shit. Like, what the fuck? Are you serious? You groped me, dude. That was pretty dumb. What do you want from me? If you have something to say, then spit it out already. Thanks, sis, but I'm a big boy now, so could you please get lost? Yeah, damn it, Amane. Stop that. I'm a dainty little thing. I'll break more easily than you think. They say a snapping turtle won't release prey from its bite even if lightning strikes nearby. Amane is a similar beast. Once she clings to me, my only release is the sound of the bell. If this woman kept a pet cat, I'm positive it would go bald from stress within a week. I'm not confident my own hair will be safe if I allow these assaults to continue. I think it's about time I get my message across, even if it requires taking a somewhat harsh attitude. Amane, that's about enough. Just as I begin to shout, Sakaki appears with spectacular timing.
Suo-san, 少しいいかしら?
Yumiko grimaces at Amane's response. Her glare is expressive. Who are you supposed to be?
まあいいわ。次の地歴の授業で使うプロジェクターの準備があるでしょ。ああ、そうか。今日の日直、私とマキナだ。
Huh. Is Yumiko actually saving us or something here?
イリスさん一人で準備を始めたけど、放っておいていいの？
Does she actually know how to read the atmosphere?
ごめん、ユージ君。私行かなきゃ。
Don't mind me.
急いだ方がいいわよ。またイリスさんが機材を壊す前に。マキナ！待って！壊さないで！
She finally released me. What a noisy woman.
あれ、わざとああしてドタバタして見せているのよ。ネクラだってバレるのがそんなに怖いのかしら。
What do you mean?
言葉の通りよ。もう昔のスオーさんのように無駄にうじうじしているよりはマシだと思って私は諦めることにしたわ。
Are you serious? When you're depressive and then you suddenly turn into someone who's overly cheerful, both aren't really all that good. It's better to just accept that you're depressive and, you know, not be overly cheerful. Just be whatever you are. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's, I don't know. People's defense mechanisms are really weird. Then again, I can't really say much about how it is for those type of people. I mean, I've fallen into that type of thinking before, but I've woken up or gone back from it. What is it? What's the term you say for it? Bounce back? Yeah, there we go. You make it sound like you're familiar with her past. Have you known Amane that long?
そうね。と言っても、知り合ってまだ1年程度だけれど。
So Amane wasn't always like this.
何？彼女に興味があるの？
I just don't understand the woman. Why does she drape herself all over me like that?
私が知るわけないじゃない。彼女に直接聞いたらどう？
I did. Just the other day, having stocked up on necessities for my new dorm life at a local supermarket, I was wandering leisurely around the area in front of the station.
あれ？ゆうちゃんじゃん。何してんの？こんなとこで。
Don't call me that. Oh yeah, last episode I said I was gonna do another video, but turns out I was sidetracked by something else. I'm also playing some other visual novel on the side. It's called Amayui Keisel Meister, I think. And it's been pretty fun. It's actually machine translated by the by the application that I was using to play Japanese visual novels called Deep L, and someone actually edited out the translation and make it into something much more readable. One of these days I'll probably try to play a usually game. Those games are really, really long though. Unlike Dona Dona, well, Dona Dona was long, but usually games are really long and really grindy for the most part. But alright, enough about that. Sorry, I'm kind of sidetracked. Don't call me that. Spare me. I can't get any cuter than I already am. All the other girls will get jealous and start picking on me. Like who? Amane pointed at the plastic supermarket bag dangling from my hand. Look, you, don't just start rifling through my bag. You're as knowledgeable as always. Do you wander around comparing prices all day long? She's got an impressive devotion to economizing. Is that how you say it? I think so. I felt definite admiration, since my master was a sort of wild woman who bought things without even looking at the price tag. My sister is the same way. These type of people really should try to fix that habit. I'm not really a penny pincher. Well, I kind of am a bit of on the cheapskate kind of side, but damn, buying something without looking at the price tag is really dangerous, you know? Well, I'm not that caught up on the price. I appreciate the thought, but I just want a store that's convenient. It's all well and good to wander around looking for bargains, but when you consider the increased effort and consumption of time involved, getting too picky frequently turns into a loss. That's also true. It's all about convenience, Amane, and practicality. That's right. I'll be going. Yeah, I did finish my shopping. As soon as the words left her mouth, Amane was standing by my side, firmly grasping my hand. If I was Yuji, I definitely would have slapped her hand away. Like I said, I am not very comfortable with people actually touching me. Unless it's with my consent, of course. What do you think you're doing? I definitely would have overreacted and slapped her hand though. Not like Yuji being all cool like this. I am very, very adamant about, the touchy-feely stuff. This, of course. In demonstration, I raised the hand that Amane had gripped, or rather captured. Her fingers entwined tightly with mine. What am I, a kid who won't go home unless mama pulls him there? I've got to admit I don't remember acting quite that adorably. So I'm very interested in where you're coming from here. Still gripping my right hand tightly, Amane raised the forefinger of her other hand against her lip and racked her brains for an answer. Oh, is that it? If it's role-playing, then I guess I have to play along. Did you really think I'd say that? Off. Exactly. That would be my reaction too. In fact, I wouldn't even be asking her why she did that. I would just slap her off. I forcefully yanked my arm free, shaking off Amane's grip. If you think that puppy dog face will make me act nicer out of guilt, you're very wrong. Don't flirt in public. That's a rule of mine. Stop twisting my words. The point is, I can't think of a single reason why I should hold hands with you. It's not an answer to the question why you want to hold hands.
過去の事故のトラウマで誰かと手をつないでいないと不安なのよ。
Not my problem. Some kind of obsessive compulsive disorder? What sort of accident was it?
それはみ
The hell?
やだ、怒らないでよ、冗談なんだから。
As she spoke, Amani took my hand for the second time. Joking? When did the joke start? This is irritating. Take the left at least. I can't calm down when someone's got a hold on my dominant hand.
別にね、手を握ることに深い意味なんてないよ。ただ、せっかく同じクラスになったんだし、仲良くしたいなってそう思っただけ。
I don't think classmates nowadays hold hands when they walk home together, Amani. Why get friendly with me?
それ理由がいる？君は子供の頃とか友達を作るのに損得や理由を考えてた？
I actually started doing that when I was in middle school. At least halfway through. I definitely was a bit more of a jerk than I thought. When I was younger. Hard to say, didn't have any.
じゃあ逆に聞くけど、どうして私じゃダメなのかな？
I wouldn't say I don't. I just want to understand your motive.
ならいいじゃない。仲良くしましょうよ。
You're a weird one.
うちの学校で変じゃない子って一人もいないよ、多分。
Oh, sorry. I'm going back.
帰ろう。
Having moved to my left as I requested, Amani didn't mess around any further. On our way back, she calmly acted her age. Holding hands really did seem to be enough to satisfy her. Doubts did run through my head. Considering it's only been a few days since we met, she's bizarrely friendly. Okay, so it's only been a few days since we went to the school. But still, as she is a member of our class full of special cases, despite her relatively normal facade, Amani must have her own unhappy circumstances. This hand-holding may well have some meaning for her.
で、彼女の過去を鑑みるに、スキンシップを無下に断るのも気が引けるので、うやむやのうちに黙認していたら、最近富に目に余るほど過剰な接触をするようになってきた。と？
Exactly, Yumiko. We'll make a detective of you yet.
何を偉そうに。
Sakaki, what sort of accident was Amani involved in?
知らないわ。
If it's not something you can talk about, I'll leave it alone.
そうじゃなくて、本当に知らないのよ。あまり興味もないし。でも、文字通り交通事故だったという話ね。
A car crash?
なんでも、彼女が乗っていたバスが事故を起こして、それが原因で心を病んでいるという話を聞いたことはあるけれど、手をつなぎたがる癖があるなんて話は過分にして聞いたことがないわね。
Then why was she so persistent about it?
だから知らないわよ。彼女視力が悪いようだし、それが原因じゃない？
Does bad eyesight make you want to hold hands?
さあ、視力が未発達な赤ん坊が何でも口に入れて舌で物体の形状や温度を認識するのと同じで、何でも触ってみないと落ち着かないんじゃないかしら。
A plausible theory, but I'm having a hard time buying it in her case. In the first place, are her eyes really that terrible?
知らないわよ。興味ないって言ったでしょ。
Yeah, if I was in this class, my personality would be more along the lines of Yumiko, to be honest. I would probably keep my distance with some of the people here. But I guess like he said previously, Yuji wants to make an effort to become what he's not. I'm wasting my breath talking to you.
気が合うわね。私もたった今、あなたとの会話はつまらないと言おうとしていたところよ。
You were the one who approached me first, though, Yumiko. Guess we're done here. Or we would be, if I hadn't just spotted Komine Sachi out of the corner of my eye. Hey, Sachi, you have a minute?
はい、なんでしょう。
Do you know anything in particular about Amani's past?
いいえ、私は詳しい話は何も。
So in other words, nobody knows the whole story.
あえて聞くような楽しい話題ではないし、自分から不幸自問ができるほどに回復している学生ならいつまでもこんなところにはいないでしょうしね。
True enough. As long as the person in question doesn't want to discuss it, I suppose I shouldn't pry any further. And in the first place, I'm a little dubious that Amane's past really has anything to do with holding my hand. You know, if this was reality, they would probably be put in a freaking mental hospital. Sad to say. Like, I was gonna say a place like this where people who have mental trauma can recuperate and be how they are would be pretty nice to have. But that's in like an idealistic world. In our world, we put these guys in mental hospitals.
何かあまねさんが思わず手をつなぎたくなるほどに好かれるようなことをしたのではないですか?
That's taking things in a new direction. Specifically, what do you think I did?
そうですね。例えば、あまねさんが街でヤンキーに絡まれているところを助けたとか。雨の日に捨て猫の入った段ボールにそっと傘を置いていったところを見られたとかね。
Why are you laughing at that? What's so funny? Well, whatever. Neither rings a bell. I have no memories of us being lovers in a previous life either.
そんな記憶があったら気持ち悪いわよ。この学園に男の人が転入してくるのは珍しいですし、何かこうクラスメイトの男子とそういうデートじみたことがしてみたかっただけなのではないでしょうか。
That actually makes quite a lot of sense. You think so? Incidentally, Sachi, does that mean you've got an interest in holding hands and going on a date with me as well?
手をつなぐこと自体は嫌ではないですし、俺と手をつなげデートをしろとそう強く命令していただければ絶対に断らないと思いますけど。
I see. Thank you for your valuable opinion. I'll file it under not helpful in the slightest. How about you, Sakaki?
私があなたと手をつないでデート?
Right. Got any interest?
困ったわ。どう答えればあなたを傷つけずに済むのかしら。
Like you care about my feelings? I get the picture. Thanks so much for your compassion. So in the end, asking around didn't get me anything resembling a clear answer. From what Sakaki says, it doesn't seem like Amane wants to hold hands indiscriminately. The mysteries only deepen.
大丈夫、マキナ。あそこ狭いからぶつけないようにね。大丈夫。なんで言ってるそばからぶつけるかな、あんたは。
Still though, even though she's not doing it indiscriminately, like getting favors or, you know, being in someone's special, what is it, like having special favors from someone when you barely know the person, it feels kind of awkward.
私はそういう生き物なのよさ。
Just at that moment, Amane enters the classroom pulling Makina by the hand, oblivious to our gossiping. I point my thumb toward the pair in their connected hands. You said Amane doesn't have a habit of holding hands, right?
まあ、イリスさんは特別。手をつないでおかないと、ふらふらとどこかへ行っちゃうような子だし。
Sakaki watches Amane and Makina as she speaks. Suddenly she claps her hands together as if struck by a burst of insight.
あなた、あの子と同列に見られているのではないかしら。
Say what? Wait, what? I've been put in the same category. With a kid like this, who you half expect to get lost tottering after a butterfly. What a seriously unpleasant thought.
スオさんは面倒見がいいのよ。なんていうか、言葉は悪いけど、きっとダメ男が好きなんじゃないかしら。
The hell? Like, in real life, there's no one that would like hopeless men. Like, who the fuck would like that? Are you serious? Only in visual novels would you know someone that likes hopeless men, I guess. What the fuck? That's not in any sort of women's category. Or guys, no one... I don't think anyone likes hopeless people. Do they? I don't know. Not me, that's for sure. I appreciate that you're probably trying to help, but that's basically an indirect way of saying you look like a hopeless man.
そう言ったつもりだけど。
Sakaki, could you please stop rubbing salt in the wound without even realizing it? It kinda stings.
あら、心外だわ。これでも随分と高評価しているつもりなのだけれど。
Mind answering one last question for me?
何かしら。
Is there even a single normal person in the school?
言ったでしょ。まともならこんな学園になんていないわよ。あなたを含めてね。
True enough. Don't think you've got some special variety of unhappiness. Sensing the admonition underneath Sakaki's words, I feel the stirrings of something like shame. Whether it's normal or not, this student life isn't bad in its own way. I started to like this place enough to reach that conclusion. A hobby is a window that gives a fresh perspective on the world, or so my sister said. But when I was a kid, struggling through my daily life was about all I could handle. I disliked and avoided change, even when it might have brought me something new. So my sister's recommendation was to at least try reading books. That sister of mine was an unbelievably voracious bookworm herself, and she began to push the ones she finished on me. I soon picked up a reading habit, although I didn't find any particular meaning in it at the time. My sister is dead now, as are my parents and my master, yet I'm still reading. The sister who taught me to read books, the parents who weren't angry at me when I was reading books, and the master who praised me for reading books, buying me as many as I wanted. I'm grateful to them now since I found some meaning in the act of reading.
Kazami-kun.
Hmm?
今、少し時間大丈夫かしら?
Hobbies, huh? As you grow older, it's actually harder for you to find newer hobbies. Because I guess as you grow older, you're kinda lazy to try new stuff. Yeah. I turn around in response to Yumiko's greeting and find her carrying a sizable load of paperback and hardcover books.
読み終わった本を持ってきたのだけれど、読む?
Sure. Appreciate it as always.
いいのよ。私も読み終わった本の始末ができて楽だから。
As anyone with a long-term reading habit is well aware, books pile up before you know it. That said, it's hard to just throw them away, and selling them to a used bookstore feels disrespectful to the author. Really? I don't know, maybe I'm... I am way too much of a practical person. I don't really mind selling the books off once I'm finished with them. Or, you know, nowadays you can purchase ebooks and all that. The ideal is to find another avid reader to dump them on. Incidentally, before I came, Sakaki had apparently been pushing the book she finished onto the library. By now, she's established her own private shelf in there, full of pleasure reads. Most likely she spotted me by coincidence as she was carrying her books there, and figured she could save herself the walk. Heavy, right? Here. I slide my hands under the book Sakaki is carrying.
ちょっと、
Watch it! Don't take your hands off yet. The books are going to fall.
あなたの手が私の手に触れているのだけれど。
Of course it is. Don't worry, my hygienic standards are higher than you might expect.
そういうことじゃなくて、もう。
You complain too much. Alright, I've got a hold on them. You can let go.
少し無神経よ、あなた。
That's so? Anyway, I'll gratefully read the books. When I finish one, I'll return it to the Sakaki collection. So if you want to reread any of them, they'll be in the library.
わかったわ。それじゃあ、私は失礼するわね。
Yeah. I take a quick look at the titles of the books I'm holding. Sohei Akai, the decisive pudding battle. Kuma Bata Takeru, Yesterday's Black Cat. I'm not sure if these are actually real books, to be fair. Though I don't really read too many books myself. Maybe sometimes I read some fiction, fantasy novel. Hirawa Atsuko, The Exit of the Desert. Is that desert or dessert? I think it's dessert. Seno Takumi, Professor Takeda's Dinner. Ethan Crow, An Insolent Woman. Shinonome Kazuma, You Blew It, Amori. Although she reads quite a variety of genres and authors, it seems that Sakaki fundamentally likes whodunits. Of the 6 books she passed me, 4 are mysteries. Come to think of it, I could easily see Sakaki sitting at a detective's desk, using her brains for a living. Flipping open one of the books, I speak toward the shadow of a nearby pillar. Makina, how long do you plan on hiding there? I'm not mad or anything. How about you come out?
なんで私だってわかったのよさ。
Your aura is too crud. I can sense you even when you're hidden.
そんなこと言われたの初めてなのよさ。
I just said that for the hell of it. You were casting a shadow on the floor. I could tell it was you from the height and that shaggy head.
隠れるにしても雑すぎってこと？
Pretty much. Why were you hiding in the first place?
別に隠れてたわけじゃないのよさ。お兄ちゃんとユミちゃんのお話が終わるまでじっと黙ってただけなのよ。
Is it out of consideration or is it something else? You don't get along with Sakaki?
そういうわけじゃないのよ。でもユミちゃんはきっと私のことあんま好きじゃないと思うのよさ。
Alright, this. So I guess because she's already opened up to us, she doesn't really care too much about, you know, how close she is to us. But I guess she's the same way with Yumiko, I suppose. On the other hand, I'm pretty sure Sakaki said something like, I think Irisu-san avoids me on purpose. You're in a state of mutual wariness. Well, I suppose that does happen sometimes. Sakaki, a guarded person who doesn't reveal her thoughts easily, and Makina, who feels most secure when she's burrowed her way into someone's heart. Is that heart? Yeah, heart. Their personal comfort zones may be incompatible. Well, it's foolish to expect everyone to get along with everyone else in the entire world. There's no need to forcibly push these two together, but at the very least, maybe a mutual compromise is called for. I don't think Sakaki dislikes you, Makina, so try not to hate her yourself.
だから別に嫌ってないし、ただなんていうか、何を話していいのかもわかんないし。
I see.
むしろ逆に聞くけど、お兄ちゃんはどうやってあの気難しいユミちゃんと年頃な間柄になったの？
Well, it's not like we're particularly close, but we have a common interest in books, so I guess that helped get things started. Of course, I get the idea Sakaki mostly views me as little more than a convenient book disposal. After all, it's hard to say you're friendly with someone who scowls so bluntly just because your hands touch. Makina, do you have any hobbies?
趣味？そうね。強いて言えば散歩ぐらい？
Solo?
大抵一人で。
That's not good. I wouldn't say so. It's not so bad.
なんでさ、一人遊びってなんかちょっとエッチっぽくてよくない？
No. Also no.
あれ？
God damn it, Makina, you're showing your true colors already. At the company I work at, solitary hobbies are fundamentally discouraged. They place a lot of stress on keeping up some form of communication with others. When it comes to the interests of the employees, the basics are alcohol, women, and gambling. That's actually quite true, especially alcohol and women. Gambling, not so much over here, at least not where I work at. But alcohol and women are pretty much pretty common for all the guys. But it's a bit difficult to own up to that in front of the boss. Therefore, when asked, some of them just came up with a safe-sounding, conventional hobby like shogi or go. When the superiors reacted favorably to those answers, the end result was that the hobbies column in the employee survey data recorded an overwhelming number of shogi buffs. Although going with the flow is pretty much the defining Japanese characteristic, it's still something of a pathetic story. While having given them a nice, safe hobby like reading myself, I guess I can't really say too much. Nothing, just talking to myself. Incidentally, once you're the one giving the surveys out, in other words, an executive type, the hobby of choice would be gardening. Not something you can do when you're living out of a barracks.
趣味ってそんなに大事？
It's pretty important, Makina. Keeps making you sane. And you always have some place where you're just, you know, you're always at your peaceful time, I guess. Yeah, it's better to have some interests than not, even if they're really worthless. For example, the aforementioned employees and their wine, women, and song. Even then, if they can help you find a single common interest with someone, your hobbies are worthwhile as social lubricant, even if they're worthless in every other respect. This is something I heard secondhand from a senior employee at my job, but sometimes you get cases like this. I actually remember this story, I think. This is a story about a man who took a business trip to Gifu Prefecture. It was a group expedition with the purpose of field testing new equipment that had just been deployed throughout his company. Yeah, some of the effects in this game are pretty abrupt and instant. There's like no fade to black. It's just like boom, suddenly the scene pops up. At the time, the man in question was a new employee, not even out of his training period. Nonetheless, he found himself taking a long, bumpy ride into the mountains on a company bus, accompanied by the chief of his special department. The man didn't have the first clue why he had been selected for the trip, let alone what he'd be expected to do on it. To make matters worse, he was sitting next to a powerful superior he barely knew. In short, the man was about ready to vomit from sheer terror and anxiety. He fought desperately to keep calm, but his face was pale as a sheet. The bus finally reached its destination at the foot of Mount Kinka in Gifu after many unpleasant hours. But the man's relief was temporary, as his boss informed him they would be attending a large banquet in a high-class inn that night. Corporate banquets are basically a cruel kind of talent show. New employees were expected to perform some skill for the amusement of the gathered VIPs. The newbies from each department mounted the stage one after the other. Quite a few croaked out popular karaoke ballads. Ballads? I think it's ballads. With stiff faces, but there were also some pretty competent juggling acts. Even one stand-up comedy duo, which got some laughs doing imitations of superiors. The man watched the other acts with a fluttering heart. His turn was approaching fast, but he was basically a walking, breathing lump of artistic incompetence, an asocial type without a single talent worth performing in front of others. Just as he was wondering whether he could escape by pretending to sudden illness, the man was practically kicked out onto the stage by the senior employees. For lack of a better thought, he started to sing. But the man didn't know any popular songs. Worse, he couldn't remember any of the standard folk songs or children's music that might have worked in a pinch. The man went instead with the theme song from a superhero TV show, Lightspeed General Daimakarov, which he'd loved as a kid. By this point, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of despair. This was, of course, the man's first time singing in public, and he didn't have much of a voice. Within moments, he was showered in jeers from the audience. The hell are you singing? What's with you? Hey asshole, are you just making that up on the spot? That's enough, get off the stage, you suck. Although he wasn't the type to break down in tears, the man felt a deep urge to dig himself a hole and crawl into it. Only sheer stubbornness carried him through to the last humiliating note. When it was over, the man quickly bowed from the stage and raced back to his seat. On that walk back from the stage, the man had a thought. I wish I had learned a popular song or two.
つまりカラオケが趣味だったらいらん恥をかかずに済んだってお話?
I don't know about you guys, but over here in Indonesia, when I was in elementary school, people actually, well, at least in my school, I still remember vaguely that we had, what is it? We were graded by our singing. Like, there was a vocal class that's mandatory, so you had to take scores for it at the end of the year. So it wasn't really all that weird to sing to an audience, or technically you weren't singing to an audience, just the teacher, but it still felt awkward, you know? But I don't know, maybe it's not the same in Japan. Well, if you look at it that way, you're right, but the story isn't over yet. With the equipment test wrapped up, the man had returned to his new assignment at a branch office in Shizuoka. Someone called out to him as he was dealing with the transfer paperwork. So you were the newbie who sang Daimakarov at the banquet in Gifu. The man's breath caught in his throat. He'd figured out by now that the main job of his superiors was to flaunt their authority by picking at the smallest mistakes, and then rubbing his nose in them. And the manager speaking to him was infamous for his zealous leadership of his underlings. Frankly, the man was about ready to piss his pants. He swallowed and chewed his lip, bitter thoughts running through his head. What's he going to be blamed on? What's he going to blame on me? How long will I have to grovel? But the manager's words took him by surprise. I loved that show when I was a kid. The man blinked, dumbfounded by this unexpected development. You from Hiroshima, kid? According to the manager, Daimakarov reruns were played relentlessly every weekday afternoon on the local station. In other words, practically every child in Hiroshima grew up watching the show. But the man wasn't a Hiroshima native. In the area he lived in as a child, the Children's Encore Theater program would broadcast old episodes of the show every summer. He just happened to see a few. Even so, the manager must have been really pleased to find a fellow Daimakarov fan as he began to pull a few strings to the man's benefit. One night after work, the man returned to his bed in the company dorm to find that a white plastic bag had been tucked underneath the sheets on his neatly made bed. He didn't remember putting it there himself, and when he asked around, nobody else had any idea where it had come from. The bag contained a huge jelly roll and a cup of instant ramen. As a new employee, the man had to eat dinner at the set time of 5 p.m. By 10 p.m., lights out time at the dorm, all of the trainees would be starving. This supplemental meal was therefore a very considerate present. The man had an idea who was responsible. Most likely, his Daimakarov buddy at the top was the only one who could have pulled it off. I don't know. Well, the latest time I eat dinner is probably around 7 p.m. But I don't necessarily get hungry by the time it's 10 p.m. Even if I eat like an early dinner at like 5. I don't know. Then again, I don't know what type of training these guys do, right? I mean, I train quite a lot myself, but, you know, it's not really fair to compare my training with these guys. On top of the early dinner time, learning the ropes as a trainee is particularly tiring. His Daimakarov buddy had probably figured he'd have a hard time getting his young body to fall asleep on an empty stomach. The man actually didn't have a particularly big appetite and wasn't the type to be troubled by irregular meals. But then again, as a new employee, he didn't have much money he could spend freely on snacks and such. A little sugar was extremely welcome. If I get caught, they'll get punished too. So the man split the smuggled food with the other trainees in his room, and they all devoured their shares greedily. As the presents from his Daimakarov buddy, at the time they were known as the Daimakarov supply drop, continued, that talentless, quiet, and hobbyless triple threat contender for this asocial crown suddenly found himself getting along with the group in the dorm, all thanks to the Daimakarov connection. And 3 months later, when the man's training period came to an end, it was once again his Daimakarov buddy whose recommendation got him assigned to the Chiba branch office he'd hoped for. That's way too much of a coincidence, though. I mean, I get it, there's a moral story or moral message to that story, but the real world doesn't work that way. Yeah, sure, you're telling a good story, Yuji, but that's like 1 in a million chance. That's not even remotely a plausible story, you know? In other words, when it comes to hobbies and interests, anything is fine. Finding friends you can talk about some common interests with is a really valuable thing. Yeah, this is like the main moral message, right? I get it, but that story really doesn't make sense in my opinion. It's just way too idealistic. Sometimes something that small can be the trigger for gaining a huge leg up in life. That's the moral of the story.
なんかよくわかんないけど、大マカロフって大きなマカロンみたいで美味しそうなのよ。
Exactly. Thank you, Makina. It's actually a lot nicer when you have characters like this that don't really pay too much attention to what Yuji's saying sometimes. Because I can definitely say some of Yuji's nonsense is a bit too idealistic. I thought this was a pretty meaningful story. I guess it didn't quite get across.
要は一人で散歩したりお人形さんごっこしてばっかいないでいろんなこと経験しとけってことなのね。
Well, more or less. When you're young, you should mess around with all sorts of things. Just try to find something that grabs you, even if it's stupid crap. Well, you say that, Yuji, but walking alone is also stupid crap, and if she's enjoying it, then who are we to actually say that it's wrong?
お兄ちゃんは今な なんか夢中になってることあるの？
What I'm trying to say is that isn't Yuji actually criticizing what Makina is doing right now? Even though he's telling that story about how you should have a diverse interests or hobbies. After all that spacing out, that's a pretty sharp question. I glanced down toward the pile of borrowed books I'm holding in my hands. I suppose, right now, I don't have anything other than reading that qualifies.
ロールケーキ食べたいね。
You aren't really listening to a word I say, are you? Well, not to say that you need to.
だってさっきのお話で出てきたロールケーキって単語が気になっちゃったのよさ。あとマカロン。
Hell is Johnson. I have no idea what that means. Go get a money to make something.
ぜひそうしよう。お兄ちゃんも後であまねのお部屋においで。一緒におやつ食べようよ。
No thanks, Makina. Yeah, if I'm in the mood.
じゃあまた後でね。
See, I also don't like making those careless, what is it, promises. Yeah, if I'm in the mood. I usually tell someone whether I want to or not to about something. So I basically don't really give them false hope. I probably would have said, yeah, no thanks. I see. I learned my own lesson from this conversation. If there's a mention of food in the middle of a story, Makina won't remember another word. I'll have to be more careful next time. During my middle school days in America, I got a number of strange nicknames from my classmates. Mainly because none of them could be bothered to remember a Japanese name. On the predictable side, there was Jap and Shorty. My family name Kazami got abbreviated to KZ as well. However, among my numerous nicknames, the only one that stuck through basic training was Gar. Short for Garbage Eater. It's not that I had a reputation for dumpster diving, it was a reference to my tolerance for shitty food. As to how I earned it, the story is very simple. The KP, I don't know what KP is, made a slop unfit for pigs, and I ate it without grimacing. Freeze-dried scrambled eggs, pork and beans made from scraps of ham, bread with peanut butter, and ridiculously stringy mystery meat were the staples. Why can't they just hand you some canned food or something? Probably much easier than whatever you guys are being fed there. Every one of them had a weird chemical aftertaste, and they were all disgusting. Rumor had it that the secret sauce was gasoline. As for the chocolate cake we got for dessert, it was more commonly and accurately described as a dessert. Oh, desert. I don't think they'd actually give you gasoline because they need you guys alive for doing something. Like, come on. That cake was legendary for being inedible. No matter how starved you were, it would end up stuck in your throat as a dry lump. But I ate it and all the rest without complaining. Probably because I was living rough from a young age, I've never been what you'd call a picky eater. To put it simply, as long as my belly was full and my body was getting what it needed, the taste wasn't a concern. So even those 3 torturous meals a day didn't inspire any serious complaints from me. But the people around me must have thought I was some sort of freak. And after a while, my nickname became Garbage Eater, then eventually just Gar. Hey Gar, just how shitty a cook was your mom? I had a set response to this one. My mom didn't cook much, she was too busy screwing your dad's brains out. As far as my jokes go, I thought it was kind of witty, but that line didn't get that many laughs. I guess my delivery was a bit too stony. Well then, what should I do for dinner? Don't worry, Yuji. I wasn't really much for the comedic type myself. I don't particularly feel a desire to eat, but if you don't take meals at 3 regular times a day, it throws off your body's clock and leaves you more susceptible to fatigue. At the end of the day, it's about calories, Yuji. You need to care more about your sleep schedule than actually eating. Food, for the most part, as long as you're eating enough calories, it doesn't matter. To tell the truth, I view meals as nothing more than an element of maintaining my physical condition. As long as I'm getting sufficient nourishment, I'm not that caught up in when or what I eat. When I spend any effort considering things like that, all I end up thinking about is how much of a pain in the ass it's going to be to make something. And eventually, the act of eating itself starts to feel like a nuisance. My normal pattern is to just throw something together from my supply of canned and dried food. I guess this is how it feels when you're never really fat, right? As a fat person myself, I always need to think about what I have to eat later on down the line. I mean, there's a reason why I got fat. I was just eating a lot of processed foods. Well, I was eating a lot of processed foods without any sort of activity, aka exercise, and I kept eating and eating when I'm hungry. Even though I wasn't hungry, sometimes I would even eat out, you know? The so-called depressive eating, or I don't know, what do you call it? I forgot the term for it. Emotional eating, I think, maybe? Well, this is my room. Amane barges in like she owns the place, no longer even bothering to knock. But I'm already getting used to it, I guess. Ah, shit, I keep forgetting this. I remember that I said that I was gonna say this at the start of the video, but do like and subscribe. God damn it. Feels so awkward doing that. But yeah, let's continue. Probably because I've experienced a lot of emergency summons, it didn't get to me that much in the first place.
7時になったら私の部屋にご飯食べにおいでって言ったでしょ。夕食の用意してマキナと待ってたのになんで来ないかな。
As she speaks, I notice that Amane is holding a plate piled with crab legs in her hands.
実家からカニが届いたから食べにおいでって言ったじゃんさ。
I do recall such an event. I also recall responding if I'm in the mood. Not that I'd definitely be there. See, that's something that I feel like is very irresponsible. You don't really say if I'm in the mood. You say something that's really definitive. A yes or no question. But then again, I'm much more of a strict person. Yes, but I said that you and Makina should go ahead and eat if I didn't show up on time.
何？あんたもカニ嫌いなの？
I hate non-committal response like that. Not really.
腹を向いて食べるのがめんどくさいでしょ。マキナも同じこと言うのよね。向いてあげれば食べるくせにさ。向いてあげれば向いてあげたであの子。これぞザッツカニパンでしょとか言いながらパンに挟んで食べるのよ。基本的に物の価値が分かっていないっていうか、挙句には言うにこと書いてかまぼこの方がうめえなって失礼しちゃうわよ。
Probably just means that Makina places more importance on how easy it is to eat. Honestly, I think I'd go for crab paste over crab myself.
何よ、張り合いのない子たちね。世の中には食べたくても食べられない子がたくさんいるのよ。
So? That's certainly true.
分かったのなら文句を言わず食べなさい。から向いてあげるから。
See, I think a lot of us are thought that when you eat something and you leave it in your plate, it's disrespectful to the people that are growing the rice, or who, you know, if it's beef, the rancher, or what do you call it? Like the people who raises livestock and such. I personally think that sort of mentality, like, it stems from a good cause. But look at how the world is right now. There's a lot of obese people. And as someone who can understand, or who's actually experienced how it is to become fat, that sort of mentality can be quite restricting when you eat. You start to care a lot about, damn, I have to finish my plate even though I'm already full. That's not necessarily bad, but you should also think for yourself. Are you fat? If you're fat, stop eating. Whether you care about those guys that make the food, it doesn't matter. Like, care more about yourself than other people. Care more about your body. You start, at least I start feeling better about myself when I think that way. I stop being way too considerate about everything. Look, I wasn't really complaining, and I can take care of this shell on my own.
っていうか、 私が来なかったら何を食べるつもりだったの？
But yeah, I used to be what you call the garbage. Well, not really garbage eater, but when there's a lot of stuff that when we eat Chinese food and stuff, there's lots of leftovers. I would usually be the one that people dump their food on. It's really annoying if you think about it. And I'm guessing that's partially the reason of why I became fat in the first place. But yeah, do be careful about what you eat. Though, if you're actually not someone who is fat, you probably shouldn't care about what I'm saying.
ご飯は炊いてあるんだ。でもこれいつ炊いたの？なんかカチカチ。
Hey, hands off! Amani's wandered off into my kitchen and is examining things as she pleases. After confirming the contents of my mess kit cooker, she opens the door to my refrigerator and starts taking stock of my supplies.
食べかけの缶詰の残りと魚肉ソーセージとマヨネーズにレタスとチンゲン菜。何これ？たくあんの缶詰？こんなのどこで売ってるのよ？っていうか、いつ開けたの？
I open it at lunch. Get off my back. Why is it that this feels strangely embarrassing? It's not like I have anything troublesome in the fridge. In the first place, where does she get off calling canned radish this thing? It's well known among canned food connoisseurs as almost decent and pretty much edible. Is this woman looking down on the brave men and women who have gained courage from canned food throughout the years? I think this is something that the author is trying to say for himself. As I silently burn with righteous indignation, Amane brazenly starts running tap water into my rice cooker. Hey, what do you think you're doing?
だってこのままじゃご飯がカチカチだし、一回水で戻すのよ。
I don't care if it's hard. Probably because I'm used to eating canned stuff that comes out arid and stiff as a wax candle. I'm pretty tolerant of tough food.
卵は2つしかないけど使っちゃっていい？
But yeah, how Yuji acts here about food, about nutrition, about all that stuff about food and stuff. I used to identify, or not identify, what's the word? I forgot. But I used to make him as a reference to how I act back when I was younger. Mostly when I was still in high school. So I would also not care about what food I eat. I was actually still pretty fit when I was in high school. Not the same sort of fitness as I am right now. I used to lift weights too, but not as much as I do now. But yeah, he definitely used to be one of my... What is it? Ideal character. I don't care, but what are you planning? It's somewhat embarrassing to see just how some of the stuff that he's doing is a bit not really my thing anymore.
カニチャーハン作ってあげる。あんたはおとなしく座って待ってなさいな。
Huh. Well, I suppose pretty much anyone can handle fried rice, especially for a woman. The somewhat prejudiced assumption is that you'll have a basic skill like that. Fact is, out of all the women I've met so far, the only one who couldn't make edible fried rice was my master. Still, I can't quite hide a certain anxiety. Not that Amane is paying any attention, humming to herself as she cracks open the eggs. After shaking salt and pepper onto the eggs, she mixes in the lightly rinsed rice. Then adds a bit of crab meat, only about half of what she brought, and finally chopped radish. She heats a frying pan coated with mayonnaise rather than oil, adds to the lettuce and spinach she plundered from my fridge, and throws in the rice mixture according to her own timing. Sticking the back of her ladle into the mix, she vigorously clatters it around the frying pan, messily stir-frying the food. When Amane decides it's done, she uses the bowl as a mold to form the fried rice into a perfect hemisphere, then tosses it onto the plate. Oh, sorry. I kinda hit the mic. This wouldn't look out of place in a Chinese restaurant.
そして最後に
Dressing the leftover crab meat with mustard and mayo, she drops it with a thud on top of the heap of fried rice on the plate. That's a lot of mayo.
はーい、お待たせ。
No wonder you're pretty big, Amane. So she says, but it hasn't even been 10 minutes since Amani started to cook. I mean, I don't mind tasty food. I don't mind mayonnaise, of course. I like mayonnaise too. But once you get how I am, I get very particular about my food. Like, yeah, I can probably burn it off, but if I don't have to, it depends. Sometimes I want to binge myself. Depends on the timing. But I would rather eat healthy on a regular basis than keep splurging and doing lots of exercise to burn it off. Sometimes I do though. The imposing pile of steaming fried rice on my plate looks pretty damn impressive for something cobbled together out of leftovers, and in such a short time.
っていうか、この部屋もっと大きいテーブルないの？なんかお皿とかも少ないし、今度来るとき持ってこようか？
I mean, I'm living alone. How many plates do I need? Like 2? Not necessary. I've got what I need. The table is a small coffee table for one that Sachi dragged out of some storeroom as a stopgap measure. And the frying pan and what tableware I have are things I picked out carelessly at local 100 yen and hardware stores. But since I'm living alone, it's all perfectly adequate. No point in getting more dishes when I'm only eating off one. This means more things to wash.
確かに、洗い物は溜め込んでないみたいだけど。
Noticing something as she speaks, Amane returns to the kitchen and starts to wrestle through a plastic bag in the corner.
これはゴミ？捨てていいの？
Yeah. I've been throwing my empty oolong tea bottles in that bag, and before I knew it, I had something of a pile. But I was uncertain about the timing to throw them out.
明日資源ゴミの日だから一緒に出しておいてあげる。
Yeah, the Japanese are actually very particular about this. You don't see a lot of trash cans a lot in Japan. Maybe, like, you know, maybe at malls and stuff, but on the road, you don't see a lot of them. And they're very particular about how they recycle their trash. So you don't even have a trash bin inside of the Airbnb or whatever it is you're staying. So you probably would need a very big bag or, you know, a plastic bag to put your trash in. And then on the days that it's recycle day, you throw it out along with everyone else in the same department or environment or, you know, neighborhood. Very weird, but I do think that is actually pretty admirable. With well-practiced movements, she peels off the labels, removes the caps, and skillfully cuts off their plastic rings with the tip of a kitchen knife. Finally, she lightly rinses the bottles themselves with tap water. Judging from the smooth motion of her hands, she's repeated this often enough to gain the mastery of an assembly line worker. Clearly, she's something of an eco-friendly woman.
じゃあ、私部屋に戻るけど、食べ終わったらちゃんとお皿は洗い桶につけておいてね。後で洗いに来るから。
No, I can take care of that much myself. Sorry for the hassle.
いいのよ。ちゃんとこういうこともできるって見せておかないと、ただのエッチなお姉さんだと思われちゃうしね。
I can't believe you voiced freaking Natsumi, damn it. I really still cannot believe that. I guess Natsumi, when she was cheerful, is somewhat like Amane. I don't know. With a quick goodbye, Amane heads out of the room, not waiting for my impressions of the crab fried rice. I don't know, do I like depressive girls or something? Is that why I like Natsumi in the first place? I'm not sure. I had the idea that a busybody woman like her would be more likely to hang over my shoulder pestering me for compliments, but she just popped in all of a sudden, cooked for me in a flash, then left just as quickly. It might be the influence of dealing with that whimsical machina all the time. Let's eat. Unfortunately, I don't have a Chinese spoon in this room, so I'll have to make do with the standard Western variety. I jab my spoon into the mountain of steaming fried rice and quickly throw some into my mouth. Not bad at all. Even someone as disinterested in food as me can tell when something tastes good. The salt seasoning feels a bit thin, but this is probably how it should be if you're thinking about healthy sodium intake. Although, it would be insulting to compare this to the crap my master made. It's also different from the stuff you'd get at a high-priced Chinese restaurant. It tastes like your standard fried rice. What's with this flavor? When I was living alone with my mother as a child, I remember eating fried rice that tasted like this. After finishing her day job, my mother would make me dinner before her night shift started. In the last week of the month before her paycheck came in, it would often be a pretty plain meal of fried rice. When all she could put on the table was fried rice with a bit of pink fish paste added, she would apologize as I ate. "I'm sorry, this is all we got." Unlike the fried rice Amani just made, there was never anything extravagant like crap thrown in, and Amani's cooking skills seemed to be better as well. So why is it that they taste similar? Probably because it's still fried rice at the end of the day. For me, I grew up mostly alone, so I don't really cook for myself. Most of the time, I just order takeout. So yeah, this sort of storyline where you have a good mother taking care of you, it doesn't really correspond, or I can't really be emotionally, or I can't empathize with it because I didn't grow up like it. Where's this slight melancholy coming from? Well, it doesn't matter as long as it's good. When I was a kid, anything I ate tasted good. That part of me hasn't changed too much. Probably because you ate stuff that, you know, stuff that you like as a kid. You probably ate ice cream, you probably ate all sorts of chocolate. I mean, I remember eating a lot of very highly palatable foods when I was a kid. Even when I was growing up, I still ate a lot. I mean, up until last year, I probably just ate everything that I like. But now I started eating stuff that I actually need. Vegetables, lots of vitamin stuff. You need that. Sorry, I guess my my healthy habits are seeping into my commentary. It's very dangerous to jump to conclusions about someone. When you make a judgment without sufficient information, you're going to be at least slightly off. Whether that's an over or underestimation, it clouds your perception and often comes back to bite you in the end. My employer is exactly the sort of organization that lives and dies by gathering accurate intelligence, and I heard a lot about its importance from my acid tongue master as well. Therefore, I make a conscious effort not to label others prematurely. That said, every time this Matsushima Michiru girl enters my field of vision, I find myself dying to stick exactly such a mental label on her. Yo, Michiru. I've been standing in front of you for a while now. Why are you acting like you just noticed?
仕方ないでしょ。今私集中してたんだから。あんたなんか目に入らなかったのよ。眼中になかったの。視界不良だったの。わかる？
I see. Understood. But that utter lack of awareness might cost you your life someday. Please make sure to look both ways for cars before you cross the road.
さい。バカ。
I offered an appropriate warning given your actions. Quite a verbal abuse.
うさいのうさいの。あっち行けこの子の。
Michiru vigorously throws the empty paper carton she was holding at me. Flying into a fit of rage just because someone tells you something you don't want to hear isn't a good habit.
ユージなんか酸っぱくなれこの。
Depending on where you are, Yuji, some of the stuff you say can get you into a fight. That's why most of the time I don't really say anything that, you know, might spur out something. So I just stay quiet. Judging that I don't have a foothold in this conversation, I pick up the garbage Michiru hurled at me and temporarily withdraw from the scene. Of course, it's a different matter when the person that I'm talking to is a friend or a family member. If it's a stranger that I'm not really familiar with, I usually don't really care too much about what they do. Even if it is negative, it's not my problem. Wow, that's a pretty short scene. And I was gonna say, that's like the first time we get a Michiru scene in a long time. 100% vitamin C drink. Reading out the description printed on the carton, I tilt my head in bemusement. I've seen plenty of 100% fruit juice drinks, but this is a new one. The parent company of this manufacturer is a pharmaceutical corporation. Maybe it's some sort of undiluted vitamin solution used in beauty products. Or maybe it's not meant literally, and they're just exaggerating to play up the fact that it's packed full of this stuff. Either way, it's a soft drink that emphasizes its vitamin C content above all else. You guys don't need vitamin C, by the way. It's really just marketing crap that you need to drink all those vitamin C. There's lots of foods that have vitamin C already, and we don't really need a lot of vitamin C in our daily intake. Which means that it's probably incredibly sour and acidic. It must be torture to drink unless you've got a pretty strong tolerance for that sort of thing. So why was she drinking this stuff? From the look of on her face, I don't think it was out of fondness for the taste. Some kind of self-flagellation? Or maybe...
なぜあなたがここにいるの?
Interrupting my thoughts, Sakaki stares at me suspiciously. Yo, if it isn't human...
一応それが私のあだ名なのかどうかその事実だけは聞いておこうかしら
Calm down. If you lose your sense of humor, you won't be able to live a fun life.
別に楽しく生きるつもりもないわ
Damn it, Yumiko. Stop being so edgy. You kind of remind me of my old self. I mean, to some degree, I'm still that way. I see. In that case, it wasn't a nickname. Slip of the tongue. Happy now?
本当に腹の立つ男ね
Aggravating as I may be, Sakaki nonetheless approaches me.
手に何を持っているの
This, it's an empty soft drink carton. That blonde girl was drinking it earlier.
どうしてそれをあなたがまさかそういうのを集める趣味があるんじゃないでしょうね
Is collecting this sort of thing as evil a hobby as that scowl implies? I'm interested. Please explain in detail.
検索サイトでも使えばいいでしょ
For some reason, Sakaki is trembling with anger. Seems I still can't anticipate what will trigger this woman's wrath.
話を戻すけどそれ松島さんがいつも飲んでるやつよね嫌そうな顔をして
sorry. Right, I wanted to ask about that. Why is she drinking something she so plainly hates? Did she lose a bet? Is she being bullied? Was she placed under a malevolent spell?
あなたの思考ってなんというか0か10かしかないのね
Alright, so correct me.
さあそこまでは私にはわからないわあの子とは深く関わったこともないしそもそもクラスメイトという以外の興味もない
Yeah, if I was to say, whose personality matches mine the most so far, it's definitely Yumiko. Like, Yuji definitely influenced me, but I do realize my personality is definitely more prickly than not. And yet I'm pretty sure you knew this was Michiru's carton before you asked.
あなたの底意地の悪さは字なのそれとも私に対してだけ
I was just trying to explore an apparent logical inconsistency. The wrinkles in Sakaki's forehead grow deeper, and her glare sharper. Apparently there are some logical inconsistencies best left unexplored when she's around. Specifically, those concerning her contrary personality.
あの子お菓子とかもよく食べてるみたいだしいろいろな食べ物に興味があるんじゃないの
Now that you mention it, seems like she's always carrying those ramune candies around.
あらあなたの方こそ観察が細かいわね松島さんに興味があるのかしら
Are you interested in knowing whether I'm interested in Michiru?
あなたの前では余計なことを一切言わないように心がけるわそれじゃ
With an extremely displeased expression, Yumiko leaves the roof. There sure are a lot of troublesome girls in this place. After spending a little time sharing a dorm with them, it's pretty obvious that everyone in this place has a few screws loose, and probably a few skeletons in the closet as well. Amani and Sakaki aren't easy to deal with in the first place, and there seems to be more to them than what they're letting on. The same is probably true of Makina and Sachi. That said, when it comes to that bottle blonde girl, no matter how many times I try to look below the surface, I keep hitting rock bottom right away. If she's got any hidden depths, they're very well hidden. In other words, I've got a persistent suspicion that she's an idiot. Still, it's too early to label her. I should bide my time and get a better idea of her personality before reaching any conclusions. But seriously now.
人と
I think this is like a Japanese thing where you draw the kanji for a person and eat it so that you're not nervous. I think people do that when they have stage fright or something. What are you doing?
またあんたなの？何人のこと観察してんのよ。
I'm not spying on you. I just happen to be here. Leaving that aside, are you drawing the character for a person on your hand? It's a pretty stale superstition.
何言ってんのよ。これでいつ胸焼けを抑えられるんだから、本当わけよね。
The fuck? It does? Heartburn and indigestion?
そうよ。これやるだけで治っちゃうんだから、すごいおまじないなのよ。あんたも真似したけりゃ真似すりゃいいわよ。
Sure, might come in handy sometime.
その時は私に感謝しなさいよね。
みちる様は便利な体をお持ちで羨ましいです。
I thought the drawing on your hand thing was supposed to calm you down before a big public speech or whatever. Since when did it become a replacement for azulin sulfate sodium? Sulfonate.
その成分については過分にして存じ上げませんが、みちる様の体内がワンダーランドなのは疑いようのない事実です。
I guess, you know, at the end of the day, if you think something's right, it's right. And if you think something's wrong, something's wrong. The power of the mind or some shit like that. You're pretty cruel, Sachi.
何がひどいんですか？
Never mind. That was a pretty short scene.
ちょっとあまね、待ちなさいよ。うわ、みちる、どうしたの？昨日あまねに買ってきてもらったジュース、思いっきり賞味期限切れちゃってたわよ。嘘。それはちゃんとチェックしてるわよ。ありえないってば。本当よ。これ見てみなさいよ。ほら、5月3日って書いてあるでしょ。1ヶ月も？ちょっと貸してみて。みちる、何よ。別に責めたりしないわよ。ただ完璧主婦を演じるあなたにもこういう弱点があるということを認め、今年何年か言ってみなさいな。バカにして。今年は2012年でしょ。それぐらいは。2011年です。そうだっけ？そうです。あ、じゃあその表示ってそうよ。ここに書いてある賞味期限2012年5月ってね、あと11ヶ月先なの。わかる？だから賞味期限切れてるとか言いがかりなの。なのに夕飯の準備しなきゃ。あまねも悪かったわね。引き止めたりして。
I was reading too fast there.
なんでこれ。人にしょうもない勘違いで疑いをかけたことについて謝罪しろ。逃げやがった。
Yo.
ユージくん、見てた？
Ever since your polite greeting of God toward your classmate.
あの子を何度も相手にしてたらそういう反応になるでしょ。
I think I can see where you're coming from. Pile enough of these cases together and I can't help but bring my deadline for a conclusion forward. One day, the topic of Michiru comes up when we're all gathered together. Incidentally, the person in question is already in bed.
チルチルは宇宙人なのよさ。
A unique theory.
だから時々頭に銀紙を巻いて電波を受信しているのよ。
Sure, yeah, the typical Denpa girl in these anime tropes. That a fact?
チルチルを観察していればそのうちに見られるはず。
Although I have no intention of taking anything Makina says seriously, the scary thing is, when she says this about Michiru, it almost feels plausible.
宇宙人か。
What? You have a thought about that?
独り言なんだからいちいち突っ込まないでくれる？
You were mumbling something interesting, so I was curious. Sorry, please let me hear your delusions about Michiru the ET when you're in a better mood. Sorry if I rub you the wrong way, but try to keep in mind that I don't mean anything by it.
気に障らない言い方ができるよ。あなたも努力してくれないかしら。
まあしかし
あのおバカっぷりが今まで命に関わるところで発揮されなくてよかったわよね。
もしかしたらオリジナルのミチル様はすでに生き絶え、現在のミチル様は全くの別人ということも。
How the hell did you even reach that conclusion?
ごめんさっちゃん、さすがにそれは話が飛躍しすぎでしょう。
そうですね。ミチル様ほどの頭加減なら自分が死んでしまったことにすら気づかないという可能性もありますから。
You're having fun, aren't you, Sachi?
それフォローになってないし。
チルチルの中には悪魔が住んでいるのよさ。
A devil?
普段はあのおバカっぷりでカムフラージュしているけど、ひとたびそのベールを脱げば人の心を介さぬ悪魔が飛び出してみんなを一人一人血祭りにあげるのよさ。
What's the matter, Sakaki? Sounds like you suddenly caught your breath in fear.
私の行動に逐一突っ込まないでって言ったでしょ。あと詳細に説明するのもやめてちょうだい。ああ、私もう寝る。なんだか怖くなってきちゃった。ってなんか寒くない今日。
そういえばちょっと冷え込んでますね。
くしゃみが出る前に暖かくして寝ないと。
そんじゃおやすみなのよさ。お兄ちゃんもチルチルのことは忘れていい夢を見るのよ。
Actually, ever since I ate well and started exercising, I haven't really gotten into any sort of sickness. I don't know. I feel like I really became somewhat of a superhuman from doing all these training that I've been doing. Also eating lots of, you know, just not necessarily healthy food, but just the amount of food that I eat is not really all that much in comparison to what I previously ate. So I ate just enough, you know? Is it really okay to just forget about her? The next morning, having finished my usual morning routine, I'm waiting for the others in the lobby. But for some reason, nobody's showing up. Everybody's late at once? Seems like a bit too much of a coincidence. The pattern so far has been Amane and Makina noisily arriving first, followed by Sachi and Michiru noisily arriving second, with Sakaki sullenly arriving last. The normally rowdy morning is bizarrely quiet today. Just as I'm thinking this, Amane appears around the corner of the hallway. She's hunched over, hiding the breast she's so proud of. Her hair is sticking up in places and her skin seems rough.
風邪ひいちゃった。季節の変わり目なのに夜更かししたから。
You look bad. Your beloved breasts are all shriveled.
え、嘘、そんなはずは。
Of course, I'm just screwing with you. What kind of cold would cause breasts to shrink? Haven't heard of one.
あのね、体調悪い相手にそういう趣味の悪い冗談事言うのやめてくんない？
Understood. I'll do my best. Where are the others?
さあ、マキナは私の風邪もらったのか部屋でダウンしてる。
So we're waiting on the other three. As I speak, someone appears from around the corner.
おはようございます。
Sachi, the next to arrive, has an equally severe case of the sniffles. Her maid uniform is disheveled, bringing in mind certain cheap Japanese pornos.
あら、さっちゃんもダウン？
はい、面目ないです。メイドとしてあるまじき体調管理の不甲斐なさで、世が世なら自害もやむを得ないくらいではないかと。
I don't think there were many historical periods where catching a cold was punishable by death, Sachi.
風見さんもおはようございます。で、他の方は？
This is all of us so far. Makina's unconscious in a room. Sakaki... Just as I was speaking, I hear the sound of dragging footsteps from around the corner. It's obvious from a look at Yumiko's face that she's in bad shape herself. She must be pretty out of it, since she hasn't noticed that her socks are strangely bunched up at the toe. Her hair is a mess too, with loose strands bouncing around with every step.
いいから
Mind if I ask what I'm supposed to be leaving?
いろいろと突っ込みたいんでしょ。でも何も言わなくていいから私への興味質問を他に向けてくれないかしら。
Understood. I won't comment on your bunched up socks or those stray hairs you've got all over the place.
体調が元に戻ったら許さないから。
Yumiko's forehead creases in the usual way as she straightens her hair and fixes her socks. But the powerful aura of rage that normally accompanies her scowl isn't there.
ユージ君は平気なの？
Staying healthy is part of my job.
そうなると体調が万全なのは風見さんと。
うんそういえば今日はまだ見かけないわね。
At the very moment everyone was imagining a certain face,
だらしないわねあんたたち。
Michiru dramatically appears in the hallway, as if she'd been lying in wait for the right moment to make her grand entrance. Probably because she had, in fact, been lying in wait for the right moment to make her grand entrance. She jabs a finger out at us in an apparent attempt at an impressive pose.
季節の変わり目だし気をつけなきゃダメでしょ。案の定揃いも揃って体調崩してるなんて実医楽もいいとこだわ。
I'm not sick. Also, did you mean negligent?
本当にあんたたち実医楽ね、実医楽。
Ignoring me and her own poor grasp of the language, Michiru continues to harp on the negligee group.
元気だけが取り柄みたいなメンツなのに風邪ひいてバカみたいに鼻ずるずる言わしちゃって情けないわね。
あなたに言われたくないわよ。
Likewise, ignoring Sakaki's crankiness, Michiru reaches into the pouch she's carrying, takes out a variety of boxes and plastic pouches, and places them on the common room table.
ほら、ちゃんと薬とかインスタントのおかゆとか用意したから各自持って帰ってさっさと治すこといいわね。ムカつくけど今日は反論できない。ありがたくいただきますね、みちる様。感謝してもいいのよ。つか、感謝しなさいよね。
In a truly rare spectacle, the group obediently follows Michiru's orders. The girl seems overjoyed, almost disturbingly so.
こういう時なぜかあの子だけ元気なのよね。
This has happened before?
なぜか風邪ひかないのよ松島さんだけ。一時は本気で
What
一
the
服
fuck?
盛られてるんじゃないかって
Jesus,
疑ったこと
Yumiko.
もあったわ。
Poisoning?
何を考え込んでいるのかしら。
You might not be too far off with that hypothesis. It's just that you aren't the ones being poisoned here.
はあ
しかし見事に私だけ風邪ひかないわね。なんでなんだろう。
Michiru tilts her head in honest puzzlement. A daily vitamin C intake on the level of a self-poisoning, a sleep and activity schedule like that of a grade schooler, and a naturally tranquil, vacant mind. Combining all of these factors, it's no wonder she doesn't get sick often.
まあ、いっか。あ、ほらほら、ユミコもぼーっとしてないで。早く取るもの取って部屋に戻りなさいよ。
She might be faking though.
言われなくてもそうするわよ。
Although her words sound defiant, Sakaki also obediently takes advantage of Michiru's kindness. Even if her willpower has been weakened by the cold, it doesn't seem like the Sakaki I know. I see. I've gotten something of a new perspective on this girl. Honestly, there's no mistaking the fact that she's an idiot, but without a doubt, she's a necessary idiot for this place. Among this strangely precocious bunch, Michiru is a complete outlier in her lifestyle patterns and thought processes. I guess her presence actually helps balance out the group in a way.
おかゆ梅味がない。
ああ、あまねが持ってっちゃったのね。わかったわ。じゃあ後で部屋に持っていくから薬だけ持って戻りなさい。
Yumiko kind of reminds me of my brother. My brother actually gets very... what is it? Very meeky like Yumiko here when when he gets sick.
わかったわ。
ユミコも存分に感謝するがいいわ。あ、いや、感謝してもいいのよ。
Above all, I'm seriously surprised by the way something vaguely resembling friendly feeling seems to be temporarily present between her and this box cutter woman. Sakake's apparent interest in Michiru also seems to hint at some sort of positive emotion. Michiru might have some sort of mysterious charm in her own right.
ちょっとユージ
What?
あんたもボサッとしてないで風もらわないようにマスクするとかしなさいよねほらここに用意しといたから立体マスク
You're not wearing one yourself, though. Yeah, I'll take one. Taking the mask Michiru thrusts out at me, I return to my room. There are parts of people you can't judge from a unified perspective. Trivial as it might seem, I've picked up another bit of knowledge at this school. Trust me guys, don't drink 100% vitamin C every single day. It's really useless. It's mostly just sugar. Just eat stuff that has vitamin C already. Eat your vegetables. It's not really hard to find vitamin C anywhere. Most food has it. Several days after the cold incident in the dormitory. Like, I know this is just for comedic effect. But I know some people actually do this every single day. They drink like 100% vitamin C like beverage. I know a friend of mine does that every day when I was in middle school. I guess if you do it for just a supplement, it's okay, but I myself particularly like to eat a balanced meal every single time. I mean, it's not hard to eat a balanced meal, you know? Once again, I encounter Michiru drinking something sour in the lobby. Then again, it's me again being a healthy nut, so excuse me for my commentary about that. From the way she's writhing in agony, she doesn't seem to have gotten used to it in the least. Why are you so caught up on drinking sour things? You don't seem to enjoy them. Do you enjoy making yourself miserable? If this is just one facet of a deeper masochistic fetish, I have to demonstrate a certain level of acceptance and understanding.
うっさいわねこうやってビタミン C を摂取すれば頭が良くなるのよあんたそんなことも知らないの
You'd rather be eating some ginkgo biloba or something. What? Who published a thesis like that and where? I like to think I have a basic familiarity with the benefits of vitamins at least. Vitamin C's effects are so famous that I'm actually surprised to hear anyone was still researching it.
論文それはわかんないけどほらイワシとかマグロの頭とかそういうのに入ってるの聞いたことあるでしょ
It's DHA, damn you! Sardines, the head of tuna. Sardines, tuna, and a positive effect on the intellect. I think I get it.
何よ今さら気づいたってあげないからね私はあんたよりも絶対に頭良くなって見返してやるんだから
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
何さその余裕の表情教えられる立場になった時に初めて後悔するがいいわよ
Man, there's no way Well, I can't really say that. I was gonna say there's no way someone is this stupid, but I know enough of the world to know there are some people who are this stupid. Though they're probably not an anime girl like Michiru, so because she's an anime girl, she gets scot-free from it. If this is the real world, Michiru, you're probably not gonna have a lot of friends. Unfortunately, judging from the way she's confusing vitamin C with DHA, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But to explain her mistake here and now would be too cruel. I'm sure she'll naturally discover the truth herself someday. Well, you may not be capable of teaching me much at the moment, but I'm counting on you to help me out if I get sick.
何よそれ
Don't worry about it. You just keep out the vitamin C intake and regular sleep patterns, for everyone's sake.
あんたに言われなくてもそうするわよ
Spitting out a venerable tsundere stock phrase as her parting shot, Michiru stalks off. I don't stick labels on people prematurely. But, regarding the girl named Matsushima Michiru, in consideration of various events up to and including the current case, I've arrived at a certain conclusion.
まったく気取っちゃってビタミン C で頭良くなるのは私だけなんだからね
This girl is, in fact, an idiot. I mean, at least she's a likable idiot. Even if she is one. Probably because I've been living in a world where maintaining a decisively realist perspective is a matter of necessity. I've never felt any interest in a paranormal or occult phenomena. Such stories are often frauds, created to prey on the weaknesses of human nature. And more fundamentally, I've never found any meaning in the idea of the supernatural. But in my workplace, where human lives are frequently given and taken, these sorts of rumors aren't uncommon. Even a disinterested party like me has absorbed more stories than I can count on both hands.
で、トンネルに近づいた人ってその後どうなったわけ？
When he got back, he went delirious with fever. His limbs grew numb and eventually totally immobile. When a doctor examined him, they couldn't find any cause for his condition. They threw in the towel and left him to rot in bed.
ういマジもんじゃないのよさそれ。
風見さんが言うとどこまでもリアルに聞こえますね。どうせユージが怖がらせようとして嘘の設定を後付けしてんでしょ。実際は何事もなくピンピンしてて今でも連絡取ってるとかそういう。
No, that's what really happened, and he died a month later.
いや、嘘、テンプレでいいって、嘘って言ってよ、嘘って。
I don't tell lies, even white lies. He's dead. Yeah, that's already lying, Yuji. Left me a little something in his will. When you hear someone say they don't lie, yeah, don't trust them.
チルチルは怖がってるのか喜んでるのかわかんねえ反応なのよさ。
みちる様はびっくり箱のようですね。まさに文字通り。
Compared to the reasonably calm Sachi and Makina, Michiru is in a state of serious terror.
救いないわ、一切。
Amani's expression is also strangely cramped. From the way her Kansai accent is leaking out, I'd say she's not quite unaffected herself.
やっぱり呪いとかそういうのが関係しているのでしょうか。
No, he wasn't that healthy to start out with, so there's a good chance he just picked up some illness that killed him.
でもお医者さんが見ても何もわからなかったんでしょ。
Yeah.
もうだから怖いってそういうの。持病あるとか、そういや半年ぐらい前から咳してたとか、そういうソースないの？ねえ。
Nope. Michiru clamps her hands over her ears and thrashes around, moaning like a wild animal. Though the course of her evolution seems to have reached a new stage, this isn't the time to study that hypothesis. Were you that scared? Sorry.
違うわよ。怖くなんかないわよ。びっくりしたのよ。怖いのよ。みちる様、落ち着いてください。結論が時計の針のごとく元通りに。だってマジじゃんこいつ。普通は気を使ってもうちょい緩い話にするのに容赦一切なしで優しさかけらもないし。
まあいいじゃないか。チルチルがここで恐怖のあまり失禁したとしてもみんな何事もなかったかのように振る舞う優しさは用意しているのよさ。
失禁しねえよ。あとそれ優しさじゃないから。残酷だから構え。
Understood. If and when Michiru pisses herself, I promise to pay close attention.
すんなよ。
At any rate, my story is over, so let's stop for now. There are 5 candles in front of us. I blow out the flame on the last one that's still burning.
はい、お疲れ様でした、皆様。
Sachi turns on the lights and begins to clean up the candles. After dinner, for some reason, we all ended up telling scary stories in the lobby. It was a standard campfire-style ghost stories round, with everyone having a try at finding the rest. You know, I do find it a bit weird how everyone is happy peachy in this school. Like, they're all a bit, what is it, too friendly to each other, right? You'd think that people that has, you know, that are abnormal like this wouldn't really be talking to each other much. But who knows? Maybe the lukewarm summer night made for a good atmosphere, as everybody got into it.
なんだかんだ言って最後のユージ君のが一番怖かったわ。
Then again, I guess it depends on the level of abnormality. Not everyone is that weird, I guess, or abnormal.
風見さんの話は虚飾がない分だけ本物っぽく聞こえましたしね。
Well, it's not fiction.
ちょっとやめてよ。最後は嘘でしたで終わっておくのがせめてもの優しさってもんでしょ。
If I told you it was just a story now, would you believe me?
信じるわよ。ちゃんと言うなら信じるから。
Alright, got it. That story about the tunnel was all a lie. Also, my coworker is alive and kicking.
え、あ、やっぱ無理。信じられないわよ。なんとかしてよ。洗脳してよ。そういう機会持ってきてよ。
I think they'd give up after a few minutes with your brain. Ignoring Michiru's hysterics, everyone starts to head back to their rooms. At this point, I realize something's been a bit odd about tonight. Come to think of it, I haven't seen Sakaki. The others pause at my words, then turn back around with thoughtful expressions on their faces.
そういや今日は見かけなかったわね。さっちゃん見た？
いえ、今日は学校では見かけましたが、寮では見た記憶がありません。
私はちらっと見たけど、すぐに部屋へ引っ込んじゃったから、その後はわかんないのよさ。
Maybe she didn't want to deal with us in a group. Given Sakaki's personality, I can't imagine her voluntarily participating in a sort of social event. My guess would be that she just shut herself up in her room, since she couldn't avoid running into our gathering if she went downstairs.
いや、あの子って別にそこまでこういうイベント嫌いじゃないわよ。
Really?
まあ積極的に参加してるかというとそうでもないけどね。でも参加しておかなきゃって意志みたいなのはあると思う。
Amani nods at Michiru's words.
そうね。普段みんながここで集まってる時もあそこに背中くっつけて立ったままで話聞いてたりするもんね。
She points to a pillar on the edge of the lobby and the hallway.
はい。だから今日この場にいないことは比較的異変のように感じます。
I see.
ユミちゃんはわかりやすいテンプレみたいなクーデレだから照れてんのよさ。お兄ちゃんがちょっとスケベ心出して突っ込んだら、
Damn you, Machina.
だってそんな恥ずかしいじゃないって速攻落ちるに決まってるのよさ。
はい。それぐらいの対応はあってしかるべきではないかと思います。
You're not supposed to agree with that, Sashi. Damn it.
榊さんは精巧なロボットのように的確なクーデレぶりを常時発揮されますし、今回の一件もそれに起因するものであるのはもはや明白であると思われます。
私なんか今すごくユミコに同情しちゃったわ。
同情？なんで？ひょっとしてチルチルもわかりやすい属性持ち同士、その辺は分かり合える部分があるとか、そういうの？同族意識？チームプレイ？なあ、顔を背けてねえで言うのよさ。
うるせえ。あんたのそういう必要ないじりに同情するって言ってんでしょうが。
大きな声を出さないでください、みちる様。急に大声を出すとお体に触ります。私は無鉄砲に生きるみちる様が心配でなりません。
Man, you're having fun, aren't you, Sashi?
サチもなんかなそういうの。
As I watch Machina, whose abusive tongue and nasty personality are growing more pronounced, Sachi, whose cyber-like reactions are growing more dramatic, and Michiru, who's growing more victimized by the day, I find myself growing a little curious about Sakaki's way of life. Come to think of it, since that box cutter incident was resolved a few days ago, I don't remember exchanging anything but very basic communications with her. I don't intend to pry too deeply, but for the sake of a smooth school life from this point on, it might be a good idea to learn a little more about her. Hey, there's something I want to ask you guys. You have a few minutes?
気のせいかしら。
危なかったのよさ。
はい。さすがに勘が鋭いですね、榊さんは。
When you're being followed by this many people, of course you're going to notice. Yesterday evening, I tried lightly asking the others about Sakaki's daily life and habits. but the answers I received in return provided much flimsier information than I had expected. The one thing we know about Sakaki Yumiko is that she doesn't let people see much about herself, much less her private life. Our only real glimpses of her thoughts are hints from her gestures and body language. In short, Sakaki's lifestyle is a vaguely defined mystery even to the people she's been living with. Without an active effort at observation, things are likely to stay that way.
だからこそユミちゃんの生態を調査するのよ。
Probably 80% out of idle curiosity, Makina and Sachi ended up volunteering to cooperate with my investigation. That cooperation has taken the form of an incredibly sloppy tailing operation that was nearly given away in a matter of seconds. To be honest, they're nothing but a burden, Makina in particular. I asked the wrong people.
どうかしたのよ。
No, forget it. If things get bad, it's every man for himself. Putting aside any reflection on the basic question of why we're doing this for later, we continue our investigation of the highly mysterious Sakaki.
棒のように足がなって疲れたのよ。
Lying limply on her side on the sofa in the lobby, Makina mumbles a few grammatically scrambled words of complaint.
結局何一つわかりませんでしたね。
Sachi flops down next to me, having a tired sigh herself. Well, her guard was even tighter than anticipated. After spending an entire day following Sakaki's every movement outside of class, we gain absolutely no new information. During her free period, she reads books in absorbed silence. Her pace in school was always steady and regular, without any suspicious hasty movements.
人間味が感じられなかったのよさ。ロボットっぽいというか、無機質な感じがしたのよ。
Just as Makina says, Sakaki's behavior was reminiscent of a machine.
はい、あれではまるでサイボーグのように思います。
I mean, don't you guys have some sort of routine? When you're doing just your daily life, you're probably going to be cyborg or be very normal about it. Or what is it? Like stiff. You're one to talk... Well, whatever. You're not wrong. But I don't think I can be satisfied with this. From what I heard yesterday, Sakaki doesn't dislike being in a group with the others. Even if she doesn't participate in the conversation, the way she's constantly lingering at the edge is easily comprehensible from the perspective of human psychology. That doesn't fit with her machine-like actions in the daytime. In the first place, does she ever let her emotions show on her face? Apart from the hostility Sakaki showed me at first, I haven't seen any evidence of an emotional reaction from her.
そういえば喜怒哀楽とはちょっと違うのですが。
Sachi raises her hand and speaks somewhat hesitantly.
榊さんがびっくりしているところを見たことならあります。
I mean, she's human, of course. Startled. Sakaki? It doesn't seem like she'd bat an eyelid even if the dorm exploded under her. What kind of surprise got a reaction out of her? In response to my question, Sachi continues in slightly hushed tones.
榊さんにはかなり不本意な話だと思うのですが、そのカップ焼きそばをですね。
Instant yakisoba?
はい、おヤングのソース焼きそばです。湯切り楽々ホールが標準搭載。熱湯3分。
Not interested in the brand name or product features. What does it have to do with Sakaki?
あのカップ焼きそばって湯切りをするじゃないですか。お湯を捨てた時にシンクが熱湯に反応してボンって音を立てるのわかります？
True, it'll make a sound if you dump it all at once.
はい、それで同じことを榊さんがして、
焼きそばが仕方ない。
榊さん、これそのまま。
Man, the least she could do was clean up for herself. Jesus.
で、私は後片付けをして帰ってきました。
Huh, Sakaki did that? With that cool and calm appearance, you'd never think she'd be startled by something as small as that. In reality, she must have a pretty low tolerance for sudden scares. I kind of want to see that side of Sakaki. But I'm not particularly likely to run into her at the exact moment she's draining her instant noodles. And given Sakaki's personality, I doubt she'll make the same mistake twice anyway. Although I wouldn't mind seeing her cautiously filling the sink, preparing a strainer, and tensely draining the hot water either.
いいなそれ。私も見てみたいのよさ。
Unfortunately, I doubt she'll do that twice.
それは湯切りの話でしょ。別の方法だったらいいのよ。
Man, you're evil, Machina. What? Machina lightly jumps off the couch, floating a diabolical grin.
ユミちゃんを待ち伏せして驚かしてやればいいのよさ。
What are you saying?
面白そうだけど、榊さんをひどく怒らせることになるんじゃないのかな。
Just as Sachi says, when you consider the aftermath, trying a stunt like that on Sakaki seems like a very dangerous plan.
私だけでやるから大丈夫なのよ。バレないようにやるから平気なのよさ。
I thought you were supposed to be playing the role that you don't want to be disliked by Yumiko, Machina. What the hell? But Machina's malicious curiosity seems to outweigh her awareness of the risk. Alright.
さっち、そろそろ帰ってくる。
はい、あと2分ほどで玄関に到着します。
Intelligence arrives from our detached unit, namely Sachi.
これであとはターゲットが近づくのを待つだけなのよさ。
Is this really going to work?
完全なのよさ。お兄ちゃんはそこで高みの見物を決め込んでおけばいいのよ。
Just as Machina says, I'm hidden near the hallway, observing the scene.
ユミコが驚くこととか本当にあるのかしら。
なんでチルチルもいるの？
いいでしょ、気になるから来ただけよ。
Sakaki climbs her way up the stairs, approaching the second floor hallway. In that instant, Machina calls out instructions into her cell phone.
今なのよさ。
At Machina's signal, Sachi cuts the breaker to the hallway from the other end of the phone call.
何？
Sakaki is taken aback for a brief moment.
停電？困るわね。
But her voice quickly regains its usual steadiness. Once again, her footsteps ring out in a regular rhythm.
おそらくターゲットはそのビビリな性格ゆえに停電で真っ暗闇になった今はきっと神経を張り巡らせているはず。
Thought you were supposed to be dumb, Machina. What the hell? Right as Sakaki approaches the door to her room, Machina presses the switch in her hand.
何？
Sakaki twirls around at the odd noise, but finds nothing more than a flower pot, sitting demurely on a nearby shelf. In the unremarkable earthenware pot, there's nothing but a small decorative plant. Sakaki sighs in relief after discovering the innocuous origin of the strange sound. But she hasn't taken her eyes off the houseplant yet.
でもそれゆえに一度安心すると普段以上に緊張が緩むのよさ。
As Machina whispers these words, she presses the switch a second time. Just then, the perfectly normal houseplant abruptly splits in two down the middle. From its depths, an object resembling a giant eyeball emerges. Although it might be different under bright lighting, seeing this thing pop out at you in the dark must be something of a shock. As expected, Sakaki freezes dead on the spot, her eyes and mouth open wide. Something that might be an attempt at speech and might be a simple gasp leaps out of her mouth. After a moment, she draws in a great breath of air. And in a loud voice that I never could have imagined emerging from Sakaki's mouth, she screams. The sound echoes throughout the dorm. Damn, these guys are awful, I tell you. It's not just this that she's loud. Unlike her normal low, vaguely threatening tone, Sakaki's voice right now is remarkably girly. Oh. Although I feel a little sorry for Sakaki as she trembles in terror, this is a truly interesting spectacle.
ユミちゃんマジ驚きじゃない。どれどれ、どんな顔してる？エッチな顔とかしちゃってる？
あんた鬼だわ、本当に。
She is, Michiru.
ちょっとチルチル、もう 私見えない。
あ、ちょっと押さないでよマキナ。
Losing their balance, Makina and Michiru tumble from their hiding position, landing in front of Sakaki. At this point, Sakaki finally grasps the nature of the situation.
あはは、ユミコ、どうしたの？停電しちゃったみたいね。はは。
急な停電だったからびっくりしたのよさ。
Yeah, doing this just because you guys are curious? Man, these guys are awful. Just then, Sachi returns with exquisitely bad timing.
やりましたね。お見事です。作戦は大成功。
After adding some exquisitely unhelpful lines, she clamps her mouth shut. Yumiko looks around the faces of everybody on the scene and then glances down at herself.
どういうことかしら。
The tone of her voice has completely returned to normal.
いや、これはね、ちょっと理由があって。
うん、チルチルがやろうって言ったんだよ。
おま、濡れ
チルチルも楽しんでたんだから同罪だよ。粛々と無所暮らしするがいいのよさ。
犬だったらあんたも罪を償えよ。私一人悪者でしょ、今の言い方。
そう。何が目的かわからないけど、あなたたちが仕組んでいたのね。報復は覚悟の上ということでいいのね。
落ち着いてください、榊さん。
ユミちゃんが怒った。
なんで私の方めがけて追っかけてくる。ちょっといや。
As the perpetrators scatter around the dorm, Sakaki tracks down Michiru. There's murder in her eyes. She's waving her box cutter around like the incarnation of wrath. Where did the person who let out that cute scream go? Don't think she's going to calm down anytime soon. Turning my back on the violent turmoil taking place on the upper floors, I head downstairs by myself. Good job, Yuji. We didn't need to see the end of that of that scene. Yo, you're up early.
誰かさんに下劣なドッキリを仕掛けられないよう早めに学校へ行くことにしたのよ。
After that, Sakaki caught the criminals and beat the details out of them as they groveled in penance before her. As a related party myself, I was called before her to receive my own interrogation. In the end, she heaved a truly exasperated sigh, and without any particular retaliation, returned to her room with heavy footsteps. Good idea. Don't know about Sachi, but Makina and Michiru are probably still asleep. Sorry. Sakaki reaches her hand into the pocket presumably containing her box cutter, glaring reproachfully at me. I raise my hands dramatically over my head in an attempt to demonstrate my lack of hostile intent. In response, Sakaki sighs deeply, passes by my side, and strides off quickly in the direction of the school building. So, mind if I ask you something?
これ以上私に何の恥をかかせる気なの？
As I follow a few steps behind her, Sakaki answers my question with her own, her voice hard with an attempt at intimidation. I'm not looking to tease you or look down on you. It really is just a question.
わかったわ。じゃあ手短に言ってちょうだい。
Did you know everybody had a late night gathering in the lobby 2 days ago?
そうみたいね。
So she was aware of it after all. If you knew about it, why didn't you join in? From what the others told me, you don't particularly dislike that sort of event. If me being there made it awkward to join in, could you say why? I need to know before I can try to correct my behavior. I'm clearly an alien existence in this school, much less the dorm. I don't intend to trample on the native people's territorial rights or the dignity of their culture. Not that I plan to be particularly submissive either, but still. As much as possible, I'd like to aim for peaceful coexistence, meaning I need to understand the boundaries I shouldn't cross. For that reason, I want to know why Sakaki absented herself the other day. especially if it's connected with me in some way.
別にあなたに直してほしいところがあるわけじゃないわ。
Okay, in that case, why? In response to my question, she hesitates for a moment. Rather than being uncomfortable about speaking her feelings to me, I get the sense that she's reluctant to admit the truth to herself. After a silence of about 20 seconds, Sakaki finally speaks.
私怖い話とか嫌いなのよ。
Truly unexpected words. What did you just say? What did you say just now?
そんなに意外そうな顔を向けないでくれる？
Apparently my face is easy to read, as Sakaki reproaches me with a resentful expression.
あなたの言う通り、別にあそこに集まったりするのが嫌なわけじゃない。けど、いいでしょ？人には苦手なものだってあるんだから。
True enough. Judging from the way she got scared by the sound of a sink denting, and the dramatic success of the prank yesterday, I did gather she was your standard scaredy cat, but it just feels weird hearing her actually come out and admit it. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. It just seems really out of character.
あなたに直してほしいところが一つできたわ。
What?
その無神経さよ。少しは人に気を使ったらどうなの？
After Sakaki speaks those words, she makes a beeline toward the school building, without stopping or looking back again. I think he's... Yeah, I guess he is a bit insensitive, but... I don't know, sometimes I do find it a bit weird. When I was playing Dona Dona, Tora Taro was also being called, you know, insensitive or a jerk, because he voices his complaints and whatnot. Is it more of a jerk to say the stuff that you're thinking, or just to stay quiet? I don't really know sometimes. I guess it depends on the situation. From her dignified bearing, there's not the slightest hint of the person who shrieked at that prank. Guess I should just leave this alone from now on. As the first step toward mending my apparent insensitivity, I decide to refrain from teasing her further. At any rate, through this incident, I've discovered that even this stone-faced cutter woman has her cute side. Alright, that's perfect. That's actually the perfect time to end on. I'm probably going to save my game here and call it a day for today. Meaning of the maid uniform. Oh, this is probably going to be Sachi's scene. I actually just realized they tell you the scene names right there on top of the save screen. I don't know why there wasn't one on the previous save. But alright, hope you guys enjoy this current episode. I am enjoying it, but I definitely have a lot more to say than I thought from playing it. Like I said, Machina I think is a bit weird in that area, right? But I guess because she's more akin to a child, so sometimes curiosity takes over and, you know, her scaredy cat nature or her nature of not wanting to be hated kinda is beaten down by her idle curiosity. But yeah, I didn't think that I'd have a lot more to say about this game than I thought. I've seen more of the flaws, though, of this game compared to previously when I was younger, where I didn't really think I had too much issues with it. But I'm still enjoying it. It's still pretty nice, and it's really relaxing. Not having a lot of stuff to care about, you know, everything just flows naturally. It's pretty organic, I like it. But alright, enough about that. I'm going to end the episode here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys next time. Maybe I can make some more recording tomorrow, but we'll see. See ya!